current way of eating is not sustainable, neither for our health nor the environment. Our food system, which relies on the production of meat, eggs, and dairy products as sources of protein, generates 15% of total greenhouse gas emissions globally. It also requires 70% of the agricultural land on Earth. We need to change how we produce, transport, and cook food. Studies show that taking a more flexible approach to the way we obtain protein can allow our diets to have a significantly less damaging effect on the environment. Specifically, it can bring the greenhouse gas emissions down by more than 50%. And we can do this easily by having more plant-based foods and less meat. This should be viable as more and more alternatives to traditional sources of protein are becoming more widely available. Beans, wheat, nuts, and even insects all have a lower impact on the environment. And along with the promising development of meat grown in labs, they give us the opportunity to dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions compared with those produced by meat production. As long as they are both readily available and affordable for the public, we should be able to flexibly switch between traditional and alternative sources of protein.
It was always thought that teenagers were those young people aged between 13 and 19 who turned into adults on their 20th birthdays. But could teenagers be getting older? Well, let's begin with the human brain. We know that adults and teenagers use different areas of the brain to think about choices they need to make. Teenagers process information with a part of the brain used for feelings, unlike adults, who use a completely different area. Medical imaging machines show us that the decision-making part of the brain is still developing in young people. So then, at the age of around 25, brain development in the physical sense stops. So we could say that actually people are mental teenagers, or not fully adult, into their early 20s. However, don't get me wrong, although your brain stops developing, you'll never stop being able to learn new things, as long as you keep exercising it. Think of this like going to the gym, but for your mind. Read, learn new skills, a new sport, or another language.
Many countries have systems where citizens can vote for their leaders. However, usually citizens don't have to vote if they choose not to. It's quite different in Australia, though, where everyone over the age of 18 has to vote when there are elections. Anyone who fails to vote may be ordered to pay a specific amount of money. Some Australians have complained about this system, however, saying that people should have the right to choose whether they vote. The majority of Australians accept the law, though. In my opinion, filling in a voting form once every few years isn't particularly hard to do.
As architectural compliments go, it would be rather hard to beat the French historian Auguste Choisy's description of ancient Greece's Parthenon, as he referred to this temple as the supreme effort of genius in pursuit of beauty. Of course, Choisy isn't alone in his praise of this famous Athenian landmark. Though the Parthenon inevitably needs almost constant restoration and can be undeniably overcrowded during peak tourist periods, for many this site
The haiku, one of the briefest forms of poetry that hails from Japan. We'll come on to specific examples, but first you may have the misconception that the haiku is governed by strict rules that need to be adhered to. Actually, there is more flexibility, less constraint than you may imagine. What defines a haiku is that it is the experience, pure and simple. The writer's feelings or opinions should not permeate the text, for there is no room for them, neither in the word count nor the form itself. Here's a famous haiku for you to consider.
A recent study has shown that robots perform well as language teachers. Robots are machines that look like humans. They usually have a face, arms, and legs. Because they are patient, children seem to enjoy learning with these machines. The robots will repeat the same words or tasks again and again. However, it is unclear whether robots can replace all roles a teacher has in the classroom.
Have you ever heard a song on the radio or in a shop only to find that you simply can't get it out of your head for the remainder of the day? People often refer to such songs as earworms. Having one stuck inside your head can, of course, be irritating, but in most cases, it's unlikely to cause any serious damage. But psychologists have been investigating what causes earworms. They discovered that songs which have certain musical forms are more likely to become earworms. They also found that continuous exposure to music may make some people more likely to experience earworms.
Dough is the basis of many food items, such as bread, cookies, and pasta, and it is commonplace in societies around the world. It is made by combining flour with water, along with other ingredients, such as salt, butter, or sugar. Often yeast is added before the dough is needed to make it rise. Archaeological findings have enabled experts to ascertain when dough made from certain grains was first used in different civilizations. Although not as nourishing as meat, dough products enabled societies to cater for larger populations more efficiently, and resulted in a move away from hunter-gatherer societies to the more modern social structures that we have in place today.
Most of you will have heard of Monet, who became very famous as a painter in France in the 1870s, and I certainly have a lot of respect for him and his work. However, many of you may not know the paintings of another French artist, Georges Seurat. In my opinion, Seurat is equally important in the history of art. He was the leader of a group of French artists working in the 1880s and 1890s. Unlike Monet, they decided to focus on the science of painting. They carefully studied where light fell and reproduced that as exactly as they could in their paintings. The way these artists painted also differed slightly from the way Monet did it. They used their brush to make many different circles of paint, so their paintings look like there are a lot of little spots on them.
Technology is helping scientists develop new methods of protecting the environment.
Discover more about the campus in our Guide for New Students.
Governance at this corporation has been found to be severely lacking.